Well, I guess we're ready. Talking Sports is back on the air, my friend.
Yeah,
Pete.
we are. Football hangover.
Football hangover indeed. I'm a little weary, I have to admit. It was quite a weekend, man, but we got one.
We did.
We got one, and, some of the other teams, as we'll talk about, ran into that cold reality that when you get into that third round of the playoffs, man, those teams are tough. So are we, but so are they, and one must win and one must lose. Well, let's talk about Sharyland right off the bat because, to me, it was this close. That team was this close to joining the pantheon of all-time greats. I still feel it's a great football team. It's that second tier of teams that went to the third and couldn't win.
Exactly. So you hit the third, and then you're stopped. You're used to blowing everybody out by 40 points.
Yeah.
And then it happens to you. What are you going to do? I mean, you just got to go with it. My biggest thing about that game was not having Estefan Castillo, on the field.
It's a bad thing.
I think that's what made the difference. Had he played and Sharyland would have gotten beat, then I would have been like, all right. Their team got beat.
Yeah.
But now you just be like, what could have been?
Everybody kept saying Sharyland has a ton of weapons, a lot of receivers, yes. But without the fulcrum or the one that it runs off of is Estefan.
Yeah.
Whether it be carrying the ball 3 or 4 times, catching balls, even throwing a few. Yeah, it's too bad because I love that kid and he's a playmaker. They needed more playmakers because Madison was at Warford. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you. I'm not overly thrilled with some of his non-verbal gestures and some of the attitude he displays, but there's no doubt the kid's a great football player.
He really was a great football player, and there's just
went the distance, 80 yards. Yeah. I'm like, oh no,
and
you don't want to see that.
The first play happened of the second half, and it's just like, oh, okay, so it was a stop, and then, boom, and that was it. It was over. It was it. That right there, that moment was okay. Game's over.
I hate being in games where it's probably over earlier than it should be. Yeah. Hey, bottom line is, was Sharyland not 12-0? Did they not score 600 and some points? I want them, if it were me, I'd say, hey, take this loss as a wound. It's never going to be good. But realize that you had a tremendous season. I believe when the awards come out, we're going to find that Sharyland has been very feasting and productive in that area. I'm still proud of Sharyland. I don't care who they played, who they lost.
Yeah. No, they did a really good job. It's just they got into the 10 twice, and they had to settle for field goals.
Yeah. And got to get 7, man. Against that team, you get 7 and 7 and 7 and 7 and 7.
Yeah, and then other than that, that was it. And then Saturday, went to go see Edinburg North, and
hey, man, look everybody's talking about Edinburg North. 38 points is not a ton.
It's not, and they started off Steel. They started off slow, and they had
the North defense made a couple of stops. I was happy to hear that.
Yeah, they really did. You were like, oh. So is this really
going
to
happen?
Right? Yeah, you're just like, okay, you
always believe. You always believe.
You're waiting for it, and then you get that big play, and then you're really fired up, and then you're just like, well, it didn't happen, unfortunately.
How about that hit that Vince made?
That was good.
Boom! Hey, this is how we play.
Yeah.
You may beat us, but I'm going to give you a lick.
Yeah.
Remember that the rest of your life.
Jordan Stearns,
Kid go to Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
But he ran a punt back almost for a touchdown, and then got a pick 6 later in the game. Is that how it happened?
Actually, he ran a punt back.
He did have a punt touchdown.
76
yards.
Was a
touchdown. Okay, good.
Yeah, and then a 40-yard pick 6.
Great athletes make plays.
Man, they really do. And the weird thing about that was some of the guys from Edinburg North were getting their autograph after.
Hey, man.
No idea,
it's good. Yeah. We have a unique way and a unique style down here, and it's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
that's good. They had a good trip, though. Hey,
they did.
Played on the big stage. Third round against the state number 3 ranked team. You'll be an old man on your in the barstool.
And that team, that team's gonna go down there. They
Steele and Brandeis. Pretty good. Steele's going to beat Brandeis. They're going to beat everybody. They're going to win the state title. Just like they did when they beat Memorial, right? They went all to win the state title.
Well, they still got Katie.
That's right, man.
That's going to be a good game.
Yeah, Katie 12-0, 13-0.
Yeah. But
I'm picking Steele.
I want to watch that game. But anyway, 2 things that I really, brought back from those 2 games. In the Sharyland game, Madison's coach.
Jim Street, man. He's been around forever. I like that guy. He's a great guy.
Class act. They were having their little pep talks or whatever after the game and in the huddle, and he came in and congratulated Sharyland on their season.
Nice.
It was totally
Street
class
is the man.
act. Yeah,
absolutely.
I know class act's a cliche, but that's exactly what it was.
Well, Streety, the winningest coach active, I believe, in South Texas, or maybe even larger in the state. And I've had some dealings with him with some of those statewide organizations. Love the man. He's the greatest.
Yeah, he really was. It was.
He
really
did the same thing to Westlaco back when they beat Mesac's team. Yeah. He told him, "Man, we almost couldn't stop you. You're a great player." I mean, he's the kind of guy who wears his heart on his sleeve, and yet is very professional. No, that's cool, man. Exactly. They deserve it. Sharyland deserved it.
And then the Edinburg North game, it at times it got heated. You're down that much, it's gonna get heated.
Right. Yeah.
But at the end, Justin Stockton, they all gathered, at the 50.
Really?
Yeah, like everybody on the team, and they had a group prayer.
Nice.
That was.
I thought that was against the rules. Sorry, suckers.
That was
kind of pray if we want to. Right? Like that.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Those are the two. Like, wow,
nice.
I took back.
And think about it this way, Pete. That's what high school football is. It's not just the games, the scores, and what we do. Yeah. It's kind of that camaraderie, that the lessons learned, the way you handle defeat. You see a lot of neat things happen at the latter stages of the playoffs, even when the team doesn't win. Well, I'm proud of them. That's neat, man. I like to hear that. That should be what we focus on.
Okay, so you were at a game this weekend?
I was at a game, and without being too ridiculous here, I'll just say that it was one of the best games I've ever seen. Port Isabel came from behind 3 times, drove 95 yards in the closing minutes, scored with 1 second left, got the 2-point conversion, won in overtime. Other than that, it was kind of a boring thing. It was great, man. We were going bananas, man. I'm telling you, though, it was one of those rare nights when you're just glad you're there. Absolutely, man. And Port Isabel, they may not be through. The more I learn about Belleville, the more I begin to think that they're pretty fast.
Yeah.
And they got some big kids. I mean, this is the physical matchup that is not good for Port Isabel. All right? So what do they have to do? Well, reverse the trends from the game they play. You can't get behind. If you get behind against Belleville, it'll be 40-0 before you know it, because they can score. You got to avoid the early turnovers. PI had the ball twice. They fumbled twice. I mean, it looked horrible. For a minute, they were all like, okay, great. This is Valley Week, and we're going to get stomped and have to make excuses. It was incredible, man. They came out the ashes like the Phoenix and won the game.
Nice.
Man, I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
Hmm?
So, you going to make the trip up? Or I don't know. What do you
We're
think?
talking about it. We're planning this weekend here. Weekend at Bernie's, Well, they play Saturday at Cabinets Field, Corpus Christi. Corpus has always been good to the Valley, man. Kingsville, Corpus, we roll up there, Cal Allen's where PI played, and I was like, like a friend you haven't seen for a while, That was where Harlingen played Stevens and should have won 31-30 a couple years back, 3 years ago now, as strange as that sounds. Yeah. I think that it'd be worth going. I encourage all the Valley people to go, and that's the thing you see, right? Late in the playoffs.
Really
what do you see?
That's what I'm thinking. Here I am. Granted, I went to Edinburg North, or whatever, and I'm still thinking, man, I'll watch this. I've been invested all season long. I might as well finish it. You know what I mean? See it out to the end.
When an Austin team wins, don't nobody else go out to see Westlake, really. Bowie don't go see Travis, although Travis is horrible. Whatever. I played Lanier, and we were very bad too. Incredible talent and a horrible team. The fact is, in the Valley, it's different. See, there may be 1.5 million people here, but we're all kind of in that same little groove, from Brownsville to Roma to La Jolla. Man, everybody kind of knows each other or knows of each other. Very close-knit. So you see, at the PI game I saw dudes in Rio Hondo shirts. I'm like, oh, wow, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it was very good. You'll see that, especially in the sub-5As. Yeah. There'll be tons of people. The Brownsville guys will come up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Joe Rodriguez, the XAD from Brownsville. He'll wander up there because that dude loves a good football game. So, it's the Valley's special, unique thing is that we are more close-knit than other people. And I'm not saying that we're making a value judgment saying we're better. People are worse. Yeah. But, that family environment extends to sports and politics, for better or worse. And, we're all in each other's business. So, I would expect people to be interested in that PI game. Yeah. The sole survivor. Outstanding. The best thing is, you're looking every week you look in the paper and you see the brackets. Yeah. And they get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the Valley teams go, boop, 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 and they get tossed out. We're in it. Do you realize that PI, if they win, can win the region championship and be in the Final Four? This is one of those deep runs. Now, after that, it gets really horrible because I think it's like Navasota and West Orange Stark. They're both undefeated. Combined, they give up like 4 or 5 points a game. I mean, it's a joke. Whoever wins that game, I wouldn't want to play them. Right? But Belleville is takeable. I think they're going to do it. I really do. I have this crazy feeling. So I guess we just decided we're going to the game.
Yeah, sure.
Good.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. So Edcouch, you want to talk about
that? Edcouch didn't play well. They turned the ball over. They got behind early. They didn't get but 100 yards, not even like 80 yards. This was not as good as they can play. But here's the thing. In the playoffs, you don't get a second chance. Like when you go out there, there's no mulligan like in golf when you can start over. Because if they played them 10 times, they'll probably get beat 7. But they could win those 3. Yeah. They played the worst game they could possibly play. And I feel bad for the kids. Here's what happened. Basically, they turned into a pumpkin. I mean, all that magic and mojo with us against the world. They had a great run in the playoffs, and they just came out flat and didn't play well. And you just hate to see that, man, because I know those kids are better than that.
Yeah.
A lot of juniors, that's the thing. Sometimes the difference between 16 and 17 and an 18-year-old kid is different, man. I mean, a junior team, I don't think they got scared. They just didn't execute.
Sure.
That team was beatable, and they were good.
Yeah.
We'll see how good they are. Brennan keeps going, but I was disappointed for Edcouch, not in the kids, not in the coaches, not anybody. Just that it didn't happen better, that they didn't play their best game. Hey, Nimolo, you got to move on, man.
It's the end of the season.
Wait till next year.
Yeah.
Because Edcouch is going to be cold-blooded, and so will Harlan's and South, and there's a couple other teams. So will Port Isabel. They're going to get their quarterback back. Yeah, those three teams, I think, should be 1, 2, 3. Maybe Sharyland, too.
Sharyland's got a lot of underclassmen.
Yeah, I don't remember his name yet, but I'm going to learn it. And there's a freshman now in Sharyland, I think, or a sophomore, that was up on the varsity for the playoffs, and then they're telling me that he's going to be great. Now, if he can be about 80% as good as Trace Badetta, then he's going to be all-state. Trace to me is, man,
he's just an all-around.
Did you hear the things he said after the game on the video that we had on, on Closer Sports?
I was there when he was talking. Yeah,
it's about life, he said.
Yeah,
it's the
really
things that you, lessons that you learned.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
And
good kid, man, smart kid, like him.
Yeah, he what he basically did was he got up and just, after a loss, obviously it's emotional.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right.
But it finally hit him when he started speaking, and he was talking to his teammates and talking to the underclassmen especially.
Yeah.
And just
all right, now it's your turn.
And just letting them know, that they're up next. The game's over. All right, whatever. But he just wanted to make sure that it was just a game.
Yeah, because life is the real game.
Exactly.
And it's hard to sort through right then, but
I like
what
when you're in high school, and I was towards the end of the game. I was sitting next to his dad.
Is that right? Oh, that guy, those are great people
on the sideline, and he was distraught. He was sad. He was down, but he was proud. You could tell, and he was proud in his kid, and they're just gonna get ready for baseball now.
Wow, Sharyland's going to be great in baseball. I mean, I'm not the expert on Valley baseball, but kids going to UT, I suppose I would hate to pitch him. Here, hit this, I'll walk him every time.
So
to the disdain of the crowd.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. So they'll be okay. I really do think they'll be okay. Their speeches were heartfelt. They were emotional. It was. They were hanging around for a while there.
Well, they bring back some weapons. Esquivel, the great linebacker. Landes, the defensive back, and the kickoff guy. Got some of those offensive guys back. They're going to have to kind of retool a bit of quarterback, and we'll see. Maybe this kid whose name I shall try to learn, is the guy. Look, Sharyland does all the right things, all the right times. They got good kids. Of course, the split's coming. The split's coming there, and the split's coming in Donna.
It is.
Where a coaching change took place this week, and boy, or a coaching vacancy that is now open. That's a weird one.
Yeah, but like we were talking earlier before we came on, I guess you just got to prepare yourself, and like politics, like you were saying.
It's hard to be in Donna.
Yeah,
great people, love them to death, but it's a high pressure situation. Ask anybody who's coached there all the way back. The bottom line, I guess, is that Manny Moreno moves from coach to AD only. And that's pretty slick.
It's not like we're demoting you.
Right, he's not like, when they demote you, they put you like in the motor pool or like the maintenance. And it's not to speak ill of anybody.
Across the street?
Right, got your cup. But right, exactly, case in point.
Yeah.
So with Manny, I think it was a case of, I don't know, and I haven't talked to him yet, but I feel like it's probably a case of a person having vision. So, you don't last that long in Donna, good or bad. And so, maybe this move and salary that he likes. I wish him well because he's done a good job with that program.
Really has.
I wish they had won that playoff game.
It really would have made for.
Well, they had such a good season. In other words, you can't match up the season with the playoff performance. It's like, no, man, they should have won.
And you see, I was thinking that earlier. I was just like, okay, so we're the victims of Valley Week, and quote whatever. But their seasons were still great.
Donna was Donna was number 2 for a long time. That was a good football team. They in Sharyland. They had them. It was the third quarter.
We talked about the McAllens and all those teams playing against each other, and like we said last week, what happened?
Right. They wore each other out.
They did, and in Sharyland and Edinburg North, they were the last 2 teams in the third round.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that you can go one of 2 ways. You run the risk of being worn down by a lot of good teams in your district, but you also run the risk down in 32-5A of not being ready to play because you ain't played nobody in weeks. You know, I mean, I love the Brownsvilles, and one of them is going to be good someday, like Veterans was this year. But you got Rivera, Hannah, Pace. You can't get that much of a challenge out of them teams. It's an execute thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, but the fact is, then they turned around in 32-5. They did a pretty good job in the playoffs. Yeah. It's been a good season, man. I really have enjoyed it. Yeah. Remember at the beginning we were like, is this going to be a good year? I don't know. This guy's gone. You know, I got over my Matthew Kaufman withdrawals over in a couple of weeks. You know, I got to see his sister on the sidelines from time to time. She's just a great girl. Yeah, Maddie Kaufman. Oh, my God.
Good insider to have also.
If your kid, exactly. Yeah. If your kid could be half as nice and sweet and talented as her, then I guess you'd be all right. I mean, I would hope the same for my 10-year-old. Yeah. Now, they've got a coaching vacancy, too. Things are going to change. They always do in the offseason. And as much as I hate to see it, because I don't want anybody to not be working, you know, it's just the way it works. Yeah. We have not seen the end of it, I don't think.
I really don't. Real quick, I mean, they had that rally last week. I was there. I was across the street again.
Wow.
And, you know, people came out, and the story that people seem to tell me, everybody was like, if you only knew, if you only knew, if you only knew. Well, you know what? Somebody needs to say it.
Right.
Because you keep all this off the record.
Strike now while the iron is hot.
Exactly. You keep all this off the record, and what is it going to matter? And
it's a tough one, Pete.
It really is. But think about it like this. So he's not safe.
Right.
And right now, he's the winningest.
Yeah.
What does that say for...
Dean of Valley coaches.
Yeah, what does that say for the other coaches? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess you bet. I'm glad the other two in town made the playoffs then. Because if that's what it's predicated on. And I'm not saying that it is. Here's what I think about it. You know, Paula Gonzalez was a great coach. He's going to be a wonderful administrator. That's a good lick for McAllen. Sometimes when you bring in new people, they either... they just want things to be a little different. They see a vision and they say this is the way it needs to be, and that's their call. You know, they really the school board
but that's the way it is in all sports.
And Tony knows that, man. Coach Harris, he's been around. He knows that.
And that's the way it is in all sports. But what's bothering me in all this, and it's just like my opinion.
The spotlight's on Pete.
Is that everybody is complaining that, if you only knew the story. If you only knew the story, well, get out and say it.
Right.
I mean, just don't say that.
Well, not on some secret blog.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then, bashing on Facebook, bashing on Twitter, doing this.
That's a waste of time.
You really just need to get out and say it. And if there's some legal things going on, that's another thing. But it should just be said. Somebody should tell the story because they've obviously got a big problem with it. And, maybe it is a big problem, but... The thing is...
In other words, you're saying that most of the evidence has not been revealed as of yet.
That seems to be the story around the campfire. Yeah. From everybody who wants to stay off the record.
Well, Tony Harris is a good person. He's a good coach. He always rubbed a small number of people the wrong way because he is aggressive. I wouldn't say abrasive. I've heard that, but I don't think so. I know him.
I don't think he's abrasive at all. But.
He is very for his kids in the program. The thing is, like Manny Moreno to a lesser extent, you stay somewhere long enough, you're going to find some people who don't agree with you. And so that doesn't mean that you're good or bad. It means that the reaction to you or the perception that you engender has done a certain thing. Yeah. And sometimes, again, as I say, with Paula and them, it's time for a change. Yeah. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily thought it was time for a change. But, I mean, we're not in the inner workings, so we don't understand what their master plan is.
Exactly. And if they have one, they should just come out with it. And, why keep everything under wraps? But the longer you keep things under wraps, the more... It's just going to get
the more sordid it gets.
It's just going to get heated, and then,
The good thing is that as soon as you start getting bummed out about this, which I am, for all sides, I don't have a horse in the hunt, a horse in the race, a dog in the hunt. I like Tony Harris, and I feel like he's been good for the Valley. I knew when he was at Weslaco, then he was this burly kind of young guy, real strong defensive, and then he got a head job, and he's done real well. McAllen is another tough place. Very quietly, they may not be as crazy as some of the other school boards, but they're tough. They do what they want.
Yeah, they do.
And that's why they in them roles because they had the time and effort to get into those positions of power, so they call the shots. Exactly. At the end of the day, that's what you got to live with.
Exactly. A couple of things I took away from that rally.
Wow, what a neat thing.
People came out, the community came out, and not just Mackay.
Really?
Yeah. There's in the crowd there. You saw Coach Littleton. Yeah, he was there to support.
Coach Littleton's a good person, man. I've always respected him.
Obviously, Coach Harris's coaching staff, some teachers, they came out. Players, ex-players came out.
Nice. Yeah, I read about that.
And then
read what you said.
I talked to the quarterback, Fred. and he's bummed, but he knows the business, and he knows he needs to move. They're gonna move forward at the next season. If there's a new coach,
how fascinating to know who's going to be the new coach.
Yeah, he will. He will do what's best for the program. Is what he told me. So
well, I guess
it works out.
Well, after this is all said and done, then we'll start looking forward to next year, and you get a new person, you get a new approach, you get some new system, new things. And, Mac Guy's always going to have some pretty good kids. They've had talent for a long time.
They're the original school.
I know. They're the Mac, man. Well, hey, Tony Harris did a great job down here, and I wonder whether he'll move back to the Midwest or what. It wouldn't seem to be that hard for him to get a job because he's got a good resume. Let's say the least.
I really don't. Yeah, he should get a job.
And we wish him the best. And we also wish Mac Allen the best with the group they have and whoever they hire. And, one of the hard things about doing this for a long time is that you get close to people as friends, and so then you have to kind of moonwalk back and be somewhat unbiased about it. Yeah. I'd love to say bring back Harris, but you got to understand the other side.
Exactly, and I'm like I said, I'm totally for if you keep them or you don't keep them because I know
we bring all the information to light. That is the theme of the show.
And in this business, every coach knows that their job.
Your days are numbered, man. That's why they make so much money.
Your days are numbered when you step foot.
I'm glad they don't fire me if I make a so-called mistake. I did one the other day. I mentioned Vela from Port Isabel like 9 times, but I never mentioned the first name. I didn't say Javi. You know what we call that? Remember the famous headless snake, right? Oh, kill it with a shovel. You don't have a first name. It's a headless snake. So, hey, man, all they did was correct it.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me your way to the highway.
So
football's good. Port Isabel's alive.
And
we'll probably go to the game, and we'll definitely be able to talk about it next week. Now, on to the world of basketball briefly now. Craig Smith tournament over at Edinburg. Nice. This is the tournament season. The Diamondback is coming up in Sharyland. I don't know if it's this weekend. Everything's earlier. I almost didn't get to the Craig Smith tournament because of the PI game and the fact that
because football was later.
Well, that's right. And you looked at the local newspaper, who will not be named, and some of the schedules were messed up. Now, I was all mad. Man, they messed up the schedule. And somebody told me, well, why didn't you go get the games and the schedule yourself? In other words, come on, guys. I didn't get a chance to steal all your stuff. Can you get your job done so I can make it easier on myself? It was pitiful, man. I had to admit I was ashamed, man, but it's all right. You live and learn. Now, we're going to get heavily into basketball. You're going to be seeing teams mainly in Memorial, McAllen. Oh, you're going to be seeing Sharyland, probably.
Yeah.
This area, the coverage area.
Yeah, the Mission areas.
Mission too. Mission got some players.
Yeah, well, in the districts, they'll all be playing each other, so we'll be able to talk about all of them.
So it'll really kind of boil down to I'll probably be seeing most of the 35.
Exactly, and
the La Joyas, Edinburg, Sharyland, Nana.
Yeah, and
you'll see 31. It's like football. Interesting right now. Edinburg High played Edinburg North in the third place game of the Smith Saturday. North won by 2, and from what I understand, it was a heck of a game. They play again on Tuesday, so they got that district opener. I know that Zeke Cuellar at Edinburg thinks his team may or may not be ready for the challenge of North because North is tough.
Where's the game?
I don't know. Oh, wait, no, I do know. Hold on a second. It's at Bobcats. Nice. That's what you want. Play a home game. The thing is, they've got the big 3. They got Matthew Garza, they got Gabe Rivas, and Milo Trejo. Those are good players for Edinburg. They've been around forever. They're like 28 years old. Everyone else, we don't know yet. That's the thing. North has more established veterans who can play. They got 6 or 7 guys who you know what you're going to get from them.
Nice.
Edinburgh's got some guys with potential. We're going to find out quickly on Tuesday whether these second-line guys can come up to scratch. Because North is tough. I'm not saying they're number 1, but I think they're a top 5 team in the Valley. I really do. They got some size. They got the brothers. And we're going to talk a lot about Edinburgh City basketball this year. Tuesday should be great. Now, also Tuesday on the girls, I'm going to jump to the girls and then back. Economides plays Vela. Neither one of these teams, obviously Vela first-year team, not been in the playoffs. Economides has been a couple of years for them.
Sure.
So this is a big early night for these girls to see which of these teams is going to step forward. Vela's had a good start. We talked about it last week. Economides has been they got a couple of wins over the weekend in the tournament, but they're still probably not depth-wise where they want to be. So whoever wins that game gets that first step out of the box. They'll propel them into a good season, I think.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Now back to the boys. Sharyland has got a lot of size this year, but so does North. So when North gets those football kids back, because David Ansalua, the lineman, he's a pretty good basketball player, man. You look at him, and the jersey never fits him. He's number 50, and it's just all up like this because he's huge, But he's got some moves, man. And the thing is, he'll grab when he gets the ball, you don't get it from him. You can hit it with a sledgehammer. He's not, he's got great hands, and it's a little soft touch. He can shoot free throws. So they're going to have a little bit of size to match up with Sharyland. Sharyland's got a 6'6". You got Yavin, this guy's 6'3".
Sure.
This De La Torre is big. So, I mean, for some reason, they always have big kids.
Yeah.
Sharyland, man. I mean, so.
They beat Memorial already.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Memorial's got the great player, Gonzalez. This Gabe Myers is also pretty good. This Aaron, I think AJ, I think his name, Ramirez, or Morales, AJ Morales. They've got some players. I'm interested in seeing the Diamondbacks. I always learn a lot at that tournament. I love to go to them tournaments, man, especially because they feed you like crazy over Sharyland. That's a good lick. I mean, you got pies and cakes and tamales, and I'm just like, God. In fact, I'm making a pact now. I will fast the entire day before the Diamondback starts, and I will go over there and fill myself like a pig. I love David Keith over to Sharyland. Those guys put on a first-class spread, first-class show for the tournament. So the girls' tournament, the Border Bash was last week, and the Valley teams always have a hard time because it's San Antonio Churchill, Cedar Park. There's some teams in that tournament that are just hard to beat. I think we competed well. I can't tell yet. I can't get a reading on which team is best in McAllen and the girls. McAllen's played a lot of close games. Rowe, I think, was probably thinking they were going to be the best team, and they may still be, but they've been up and down. So you don't know until district starts.
Yeah,
it's
you
great,
really don't. I mean, especially in the tournament season. I mean, it's just kind of let's get out there and get ready. Tournaments
are weird because sometimes you'll be in that 8 o'clock in the morning game in like the 5th gym that's like 12 degrees and half your kids are asleep. It's just a sleepwalk sometimes, right? But then, boy, what you do is what they always say in them tournaments, you want to play your way into the good gym.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be playing in the marquee games, those final 8. So I think the Sharyland girls have also been up and down, but they got some talent. I really feel like they're going to be good. Edinburg High is going to be good. North has had some injury problems, but I think they're going to be there. So we will definitely be able to talk more next week as we'll get a chance to look at box scores, go to games. I'm always sad when football ends. And I'm not saying PI is going to lose, but I mean, for all intents and purposes.
I mean, football is, I was talking to my friend earlier about that, and I was just like, man, football's over. He's like, hey, we can go watch the state finals.
Whoever, let's go see Katie and Steele or whoever, man.
I really want to go to that game. I really do. But anyway.
What you don't want to see is Navasota or West Orange Stark against PI if they happen to win. And I'm not trying to be ugly, but those are two of the best teams. In fact, the state champ will come out of our region, or come out of that bracket, not the region. Yeah, we're the region. God, come on, PI. Come on. One more win. 5 guys. They'd go 5 deep, and they did that one other time in 03. So, they're one of 13 teams to go 4 deep. I don't know. I kind of thought Sharyland might do it, but you're right. Estefan, when I read that, I was like, oh no, because that's the guy. That dude is cold, man.
What could have been,
And think about it now. This goes out to Estefan Castillo. You may be watching, probably not. Don't let it bother you, man. Know that you are valuable to your team, and that we pined and we were depressed over the fact that you couldn't play. That's a mark of respect for you. Now, I know it's hard because you didn't get to play, but the fact is, know that we value you, that you had a tremendous season. You're going to end up on all Valley teams. Your team had great success. The thing is, you can say that to somebody.
Yeah.
But it's harder when it's internal. And Corazon is like, Lee, I didn't get to play. Well, hey, we're proud of them.
Yeah.
And it's been a great year. Next week, basketball in depth.
Yeah.
We're going to study up on some of these teams. And, hey, man, Valley basketball is always competitive. Here's a note for the future. February, my book on Pan Am basketball comes out, unless I get hit by a truck. And then I'm going to start work in depth on the Valley High School basketball league. So it's going to be kind of like border ball.
Nice.
The Capellos and the Roy Garcias and all the old veterans are going to be in there. Tell the story through time. It probably won't be as in-depth because there ain't a lot of records before 1950s and 60s. I'm trying like crazy to read the old newspapers, but they're so small, I mean, it's like, how do you do this? Well, it's all on the computer.
Yeah.
So be looking for that. I don't know, maybe next year, 18 months. I enjoy, and I know you do too, telling the stories about Valley sports, talking sports.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the history, and it's talking about the old PI teams, and it's talking about Edinburg North in '92.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff, man. Where were you in 1992?
I had 7th grade.
Do you remember that team that was so good? Raul Salas and them, and who was it? David Ramirez was that good receiver?
When I became older, I met all of them.
Nice.
Because some of them
Damien was on that team.
Some of them had younger brothers,
Tegan, his brother, was on that team.
They were all my age. I mean, they had brothers who were on that team, and I remember that team.
Max Castillo. They had good receivers there. They were one of the first guys to really. Raul could air it out. He didn't throw no long passes, but they had those slot guys, and they were tough. Man.
Yeah, no. So I
good
mean,
defense. 10-0, man. Yeah. Then the Westerville game, which we will not speak of. That's all right. I didn't have to mention that, but I mean, hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah, I guess so.
Greg Selber here. Pete Perez there. We're about to be not here, but we invite you to come back and spread the word. Speaking of Facebook, I don't really kind of know how to do that. I don't have it. But get on there and tell everybody to watch this thing. I want these guys in Sharyland to know that we're talking about it, man, and mission, and maybe I think we're going to go McAllen, Edinburg, Mason. Is that what we're doing?
That's usually it. But with the McAllens will come the PSJs. So
so they'll be there.
Yeah.
It's just that if you spread yourself too thin, you end up. I mean, it's an hour later. Somebody told me, well, they like what we do because they just talk about names and numbers and such. I mean, we're not going to have any fancy graphics here like the walking dog. Who cares? We told them at the beginning. This is what we're going to do. We're just two guys, and we're
talking sports.
We out.